Good morning, world. Welcome to my weekly podcast of Chats with Baba. Baba is a term that speaks of an individual becoming an elder or a grandparent. And at this point in my life, I have arrived at that honorable level. And I say that with a great deal of respect for those who live to be an elder. This weekly podcast is brought to you by Lighthouse for Academic and Cultural Excellence. It also produces a monthly newsletter, and it also has a website that I'll talk about later. The idea behind it is to inform and empower parents of young Black children. The information is good for all children, but the focus is young Black children, since I am a Black male professor, and I look at data that talks about how far behind young Black children are in terms of literacy and being successful. So the intent is to inform parents to help them to release the natural genius that's in Black children. These are children that have untapped and underdeveloped gifts. And what makes a difference is the quality of experience and what they're exposed to during the early years of their life. The idea behind the podcast is to move from miseducation to education and to strive for excellence. And that's what I make an effort to share with parents. This should be an exciting time of the year, going back to school. But the country, like maybe the rest of the world, is caught up in this pandemic. So I know parents of young children, there's a lot of anxiety, concern, and worry. What do you do about it? Well, I can only share with you that as an elder, I use data from science to inform me of what decisions to make. And so I'm data-driven from the scientific field. So all I can suggest to you is to do that which is going to protect your child in terms of his or her health and well-being and safety, okay? Protect them in terms of their well-being, health, and safety. Today, I want to talk a little bit about, sort of projecting and looking ahead. In the Atlanta Journal and Constitution, which is a local newspaper here, the educational editor wrote a piece this week that talks about projecting ahead, looking at college, aiming for college, and what does it take, and what is that going to take? Well, as a parent, most of us want our children to be, we want our children to be successful. And you have to be successful within the context of the time that you're living. And we're living at a time where knowledge and intelligence is a factor that contributes to one's success in one way or another. So her article was addressing a person who is who was an admission officer at one of the Ivy League schools, and she was talking about how to improve the odds. Now, this person who was the admissions director was a valedictorian. She was an honor student. She was the president of the National Honor Society, and she was a junior Olympic skier. All of the qualities that made her an excellent candidate. When she applied for an Ivy League school that she wanted to get into, she was rejected. Her first choice was rejected, the second choice was rejected, and her fourth choice was rejected. Somewhere along the line, she made it in on her fifth choice. So she eventually ended up as the admissions officer of the Ivy League school that she wanted to get into. And she was concerned. I mean, what was it that kept her from getting accepted? It wasn't her GPA scores or things of that nature. But what she talked about was character and quality. Okay, getting admitted had to do with something beyond just the academic qualifications. And she was describing admissions to almost any school from the school standpoint is really a business contract between the individual and the school. And what schools were looking at were things beyond the traditional admissions qualification. And so she talked about the importance of character and quality. So over the next couple of podcasts, I'm going to be addressing that. But today, I want to go back and talk about a couple of things I think should be of importance to a parent. That is to bring out the best in our children. I think there are three things that a parent has to look at. A, time. You have to put in time with the youngster, quality time, not just time, but quality time. Two, an investment. I used to hear the expression, it costs money to make money. So when I talk about investment, there are some educational tools and equipment that one needs. So it's a small investment, but nevertheless an investment. And the third is patience. When you are working with young children, you have to understand the nature of the child and what it is that they're trying to do, where their mind is, what they're exploring, what things they are discovering, and what they're learning while they're going through this. So time, high quality time, investment, some capital to purchase those kinds of things that's going to enrich the development, and patience on your part. And so beyond that, one has to be committed to carrying that out. It's a commitment over time, and it's investment over time, and it's patience over time. Because while you are doing these things, that youngster is growing and developing. So high quality time is a key factor. The children coming up today will be living and growing, no doubt, in a very fast-paced world. And he or she has to have the skills, knowledge, and dispositions to be successful. So what does that mean? What makes successful people successful? Folks are not necessarily born as an entrepreneur, an artist, a professional sports or entertainment person, or an inventor. These things come out of people who have individuals that spend time with them during the early stages, and they are exposed to things that enables them to gain and develop an interest in getting started on the right trail. So to be successful, one has to be concerned about the foundation that's laid out early on. And what you're talking about is developing children that will pursue one of two particular avenues: an avenue as a leader or an avenue as a follower. And that's something that you have to wrestle with over time. Am I creating one who is going to follow, or am I creating one who is going to lead? And all of that comes back to early exposure. Leaders are good thinkers. Leaders have the capacity to analyze and think through things and come up with solutions. So what are we talking about? With young children, how do we get them to begin the development of thinking skills? Well, keep in mind that children are always engaging in things of exploring and things that are of interest to them. Your task is to observe what they're doing and go back to encouraging those things where children are showing interest in. That's that time factor where you have to be available when they are exploring. And the idea as they are exploring is to raise questions. Now, let me fast forward to the classroom. Teachers in any situation, preschool, kindergarten, primary, on up the line, spend 50 to 80% of their time asking questions. Most questions fall into the category of, are you giving the right or the wrong answer? That's what they call convergent thought. It either is right or it's wrong. What I'm suggesting that when you're working with children, you are asking a variety of questions. Questions of not only of identifying something, but what is it, what does it do, and why? What is it? What can you do with it, and why? And how does it operate? Those are 4 different levels of questioning, but those are the kind of questions, even with young children, that enables them to begin thinking about what it is that is being asked of them. For an example, even with a youngster, if you have an item, let's take a ball. All children love to play with balls. So what is this? It's a ball. It's round. It has texture. And it can roll, it can do a variety of things. But when you ask those questions, you are engaging the child in the process of thinking, not just naming it and moving on. Okay, so that's critical, and that enables the child as he or she grows and develops to begin formulating thought processes about about the questions that you are continuously asking them. So then it becomes a matter of habit. When they are doing things, they go through, what is this? What does it do? How does it work, and why? That becomes a process. That becomes a process of the way that they think. Now, some other characteristics and traits has to do with curiosity, has to do with self-control, has to do with social intelligence. How do you get along with others? Has to do with gratitude. So part of what I'm saying is that as you are working with them, you also want to affirm them, affirm what they're doing and how they're doing it. And even when they are frustrated, you want to get them settled. It gets back to self-control. Sometimes out of frustration, you'll see children, even us as adults, we explode. No, what we have to learn to do is to manage that kind of behavior. That's self-control. So we're talking about attributes and characteristics of success. These are the things that we want to look at, and you develop those early in life. You and I know well that habits become just that. And habits, after a while, are second nature. So if you're going to develop habits, you want to develop those kinds of habits that are going to contribute to one's success as they're moving forward. Now, this is not an overnight thing. This is a process, okay? It is an absolute process. Let me kind of go back to something that just supports what I'm saying. There's a program that's called TED Talks. They had this youngster on TED Talks. She's 7 years of age. Now, TED Talks brings together a variety of people that are really high-level thinkers. And it talks about, from the audience, it talks about ideas that are worth exploring and spreading. So this 7-year-old was talking about babies. They had her on there with this young child and an adult. And she was talking about brain-based learning. it caught my attention. How was she as a 7-year-old though? But obviously, she was well informed or had the right information. And what she was basically trying to help the audience to understand as they are going forward and sharing and spreading information, the importance of doing those things for children during their childhood, because from 0 to 5 is where 80% of the brain is formed. She talked about all of the connections that's being made in one's mind based upon exposure and high quality experience, and so forth and so on. She was also talking about how every child, if given the right nurturing and provisions before 5, they can thrive throughout life. I thought that was absolutely profound to have this 7-year-old on there talking, and that's the underlying foundation of what I tried to share with you through these chats. The importance of what goes on during the first 5 years really sets the stage for life. It is the foundational bricks that you are putting in place. It is the foundational underpinnings that contributes to one's success as they move forward. You've heard me say in past weeks, there are 3 or 4 things that you always want to do. You want them to pay attention, listen, follow directions, start a task, and finish a task. Those attributes will contribute to their success as they are moving through the ladder that enables them to become successful in life. So today I've tried to share with you going back to school, some of the anxieties and concerns that parents have. But I, as an elder, I use data to inform all of my decision making. So do those things that's going to protect your child, his or her health, and their well-being as you move forward. So I hope from today's podcast, you're able to, again, go back to looking at the amount of time and quality time that you're willing to spend with a child. You're talking about investment. I want to come to that, talk about that in just a moment, and patience. And then your commitment to doing that. Starting in September, there will be some YouTube clips that comes from this Chats with Baba that shows a kit that I put together. It's called PEEP, Parents Education for Excellence in Preschoolers. After spending more than some 50 years in the field, I've come to realize, not just me, but the discipline, it's what we do during the early years of life that really sets the stage. So starting in September, there will be some YouTube lessons, some lessons on YouTube that shows how the kit is used, and it shows how one works with children in those 3 areas: time, investment, and patience. If all goes well, I will do some demonstration lessons with children to give you an illustration of how one goes about engaging with children. And that is a key word, engaging with children. So this ends our podcast for today. You can visit my website, drjamesyoung.com, and you will see some of the things I'm talking about being posted there. So have a good week. Bye now.